Stephen says if RB Leipzig are ready to offer £15 million for Kuhn, Celtic should bite their hand off. It seemed his mind was elsewhere towards the latter part of last season. Craig says the same. Celtic should cash in. He's worth a lot more than £15 million though. Stephen simply says take the £15 million for Kuhn and run. If you got, say, between £12 and £15 million, Scott, would you take it for Kuhn?
100%. Aye. I mean, 15 million for Kuhn. I agree with the comments there. I would bite your hand off for that. No, given the short period he's been at Celtic, he didn't start too well. Remember famously the problem with his wisdom teeth and stuff like that. Didn't start too well. Then Brendan Rodgers seemed to get a kind of hold of him pre-season. It was like a whirlwind. Remember like goals in pre-season against Man City and stuff like that. And then obviously does really well. But I touched on it last night. I thought he'd kind of gone off the boil towards the end of last season. And Mick mentioned it on here that even when they won the title at Tannadice, I was there that day and he came in afterwards and he seemed a bit kind of, he was happy to win the league obviously, but he was a bit sully. He was kind of having a go at people for daring to criticise him earlier in the season and just didn't look 100% happy. So look, I think, I mean, he's a right good player and he proved in the Champions League. I mean, he was brilliant away to Bayern. A couple of the home games, he was really good as well. So he's proved he can do it, but for 15 million, that's a hefty sum, I think, for a guy like him. And if there was any hint at all that he wasn't 100% happy or he'd be open to a move, you know, maybe his heart maybe not in it completely, then I would bite your hand off for that kind of money. And then you go and, no, obviously when Negren coming in, but you would go and try and find another replacement.
Particularly, Keith, when he cost $3 million.
Yeah,
if the reports are to be believed, and a lot of the comments there, Carter saying he was good last season, admittedly fell off form, but still a good player. John saying he's blowing hot and cold during his time in Glasgow, sell him if a good offer comes in. And Paul and Rebel saying he lost interest after Bayern. If you did get between 12 and 15 million, 4 or 5 times your money, I'd be pretty tempted to take it if I was Celtic.
Oh, I mean, you'd be mad not to if you could, multiply your investment by 5. Buy for 3, sell for 15. I'm not sure that Celtic would get 15 for him, if I'm perfectly honest. Although I do think the German market will be interesting because it almost seemed to me as if Nicolas Kuhn, I think Scott's right, he went into the season and he was bursting to prove himself. He knew that he hadn't really made a big enough dent in his first few months. It kind of, I think he found it difficult to adjust. And you said, Scott, the stuff with his teeth, I think he lost a lot of weight. I thought he'd put on a bit, he bulked up. I mean, he's not a big guy, but he looked physically stronger at the start of the season. He looked ready, fresh, hungry. And I just wonder, when you actually analyse it, there's a couple of the comments there that, he lost interest after the Bayern game. I wonder if Nicolas Kuhn attacked the start of last season knowing the Champions League was where he wanted to play and where he wanted to showcase his ability. And that's the one that really excited him. The prospect of going and playing against a big German side. Played against a couple of them. Did really well. Scored once against Bayern. In the knockout stages, scored 2, I think, at home to Leipzig.
Yep.
So he really showcased himself. And you wonder if Scott, the suggestion is that he's not that bothered if he's checked out. If he checked out of the season when it just became a domestic matter. If there is an element of that, then I think he's done what he wanted to do last season then, which was remind the clubs back home in Germany that he shouldn't have been allowed to leave the country in the first place. Because he made the impact that he did in those particular games in the Champions League, you could understand if there was a few clubs, and I think there are a few German clubs who are all having a proper look. That way, you hope that you can get yourself into a situation where it becomes a bidding war, and you've got one trying to outmaneuver the other. But 15 million is still a very big number. I think if Celtic could, and over the course of 18 months, if you could turn a £3 million player and then turn a profit, sell him for 10, 12 million, I think that's excellent business, whatever way you look at it.
He also wants to play for Germany. Jacko, he said that a few times.
He has.
I'm not saying he can't do it at Celtic, but I mean, even at top form for Celtic in the Champions League, he wasn't getting a look in. He might just think, if I'm going to do this, I need to go back to the Bundesliga.
He did. I've interviewed him, Scott, and you're exactly right. He said there were a number of things about what he wanted to do with his future, and one of them was he wanted to prove that he could play at Champions League level. That was, I'm going way back now to pre-season last season, or last summer. And that was a massive motivation for him because he wanted to go and prove that he could play at that level. And he did mention in the same interview, Scott, that he still harboured ambitions of breaking into the German national side. I think he did himself no harm at all in that regard with his performances in the Champions League last season. But I think you might be right. If that is something that's driving him and motivating him, then, you know, for a guy that started his career Bayern Munich, Ajax, to have ended up at Rapid Vienna, it tells you the career wasn't going in the way that he would have wanted to. Now I'm not saying he's used Celtic as a stepping stone, but do you know what? Most people do see Celtic, Rangers, whoever else as a career stepping stone. And if he feels the time is right, and there's that he's hot in terms of the German market because of his performances in the Champions League, well, it might make sense again for all parties. If that's where Nicolas Kuhn wants to be, and if Celtic can turn a real significant profit in the space of 18 months, well, that's good business for everybody, isn't it?
And of course, coming in, Celtic have been linked with another Japanese player, Hayota Inamura, who's a defender. I guess time will tell with that one as well.
Scott, can you talk us through him, his qualities?
Very good. He's got a brilliant left foot.
Yeah,
I watched one clip of him a day, and it was just hitting big, cracking diagonals for left centre back. So, he'll do for me, Jacko.